Loki return in Avengers Doomsday is not about surprise, it's about inevitability. Because no matter how many timelines collapse, no matter how many versions are erased, chaos always finds a way into the story. And Loki has never been just chaos, he's consequence. Unlike other heroes who fight threats, Loki creates ripples. Every decision he makes changes the shape of reality itself. That's why his return matters here. Avengers Doomsday is not a physical collapse, it's a temporal one. Worlds don't just end, they unravel. And Loki understands unraveling better than anyone. Personally, I don't think Loki returns as a hero. I don't think Loki will return as a villain. He returns as a problem that must be understood. Because Loki is no longer fighting for a throne or a poor world or even survival. He is fighting for meaning. After witnessing infinite timelines, after seeing how easily lives are reset, erased, or rewritten, Loki carries a burden no Avengers truly understands. That knowledge, that choice might, is an illusion. And that knowledge changes everything. In Avengers Doomsday, Loki represents a terrifying idea. What if destiny is real, but only one person knows it? Time is not Loki's prison anymore, it's his responsibility. And responsibility has always been the one thing Loki tried to escape. The Avengers fight Doomsday as an event, but Loki sees it as a pattern. He does not ask, "How do we stop this?" He asks, "Why does this happening?" That makes him dangerous. Because when you understand the system, you stop playing the game. One of the most interesting possibilities here is that Loki no longer believes in victory. He believes in delay. In a multiverse collapsing under its own contradictions, winning does not mean saving everything. It means deciding what deserves to continue. That's a God decision, and Loki never asked to be one. Another layer that makes Loki essential to Avengers Doomsday is trust. No one fully trusts him, and for once, that might be justified. Not because Loki's plans betrayal, but because he operates on information others don't have. He knows outcomes they can't imagine, and sometimes the right move looks like a wrong one. Imagine being the only person in the room who knows a sacrifice inevitable. Do you warn them? Or do you let them hope? That's the moral space Loki exists in now. This version of Loki does not crave attention. He avoids it. Because attention creates interference, and interference distributes timelines. Silence is safer, which is ironic for a character once addicted to drama. Loki now understands the power of restraint. In Avengers Doomsday, Loki's greatest conflict is not external, it's internal. He knows that if he intervenes too much, he becomes the very tyrant he once fought against. But if he intervenes too little, everything collapses anyway. That's the paradox of control, and Loki is trapped inside it. There's also something tragic here. Loki has finally become wise enough to deserve trust, but too late to receive it. The Avengers see him as a wild card, a last resort, a necessary evil. But Loki does not want to be necessary. He wants to be right. Another powerful theme Loki brings into this story is authorship. Who writes reality? Is it fate, time, choice, or the person willing to make the hardest decision and live with it forever? Loki has already lived multiple timelines. He has died, survived, and evolved more than any Avenger. And that evolution comes at a cost: deep attachment. When you have seen everything end, fear loses meaning, which makes Loki unequally suited for a doomsday scenario. He is not panic, he calculates, but calculation does not make you human, and Loki is dangerously close to losing the last connection. What's fascinating is that Loki does not seek redemption anymore. He is beyond apology. He seeks balance, not good versus evil, but chaos versus control. And Loki understands that absolute order is just as destructive as chaos. So, his role becomes not to stop Doomsday, but to shape its outcome. That's uncomfortable, because heroes are supposed to save everyone. Loki knows that's impossible, and that knowledge eludes him. If Avengers Doomsday uses Loki correctly, he won't deliver speeches. He won't stand in the spotlight. He will whisper warnings, pull strings quietly, redirect disaster just enough that something survives. And when the dust settles, no one will thank him, because the best timelines often looks like a failure to those who don't see the alternatives. Loki's return is not about powerful acceleration. It's about perspective acceleration. He's the only character who can look at the end of everything and ask, what kind of ending is worth choosing? And that question terrifies the Avengers and than any enemy ever could. Because once you accept that ending are choices, you accept responsibility for loss. Loki carries that responsibility alone. In a universe breaking under infinite possibilities, Loki is the one who understands that freedom without limits leads to annihilation. So he becomes the god who limits gods, not out of cruelty, but out of necessity. That's not villain, that's tragedy. And that's why Loki return is essential to Avengers Doomsday. Not as a savior, not as a villain, but as the one character brave enough to decide what the future is allowed to be. Thanks for watching this video. If you liked the explanation, please subscribe the channel and like the video.